Hey everyone, and welcome to our first ever Craftsy product showcase. I'm Ashley Huff, and I have Nikki LaFoyle here with me. I'm so happy that you could be here today.
Thanks, happy to be here.
Of course. So what happens with our Craftsy product showcase is we get to highlight some machines and some different products. Maybe you've seen some of these before, maybe they are new to you. We are going to introduce them a little bit and then talk about them, and we'll play some pre-roll that we've already shot where we go a little bit deeper into each of these projects or products and really highlight some of the features, and then we'll come back and answer any questions that you have. So we're going to kind of go through each product individually. So if you have any questions, definitely put those in the chat roll and we'll answer those as we're talking about that specific product. And then if you think of one later on, just still go ahead and put that in the chat roll, because then we'll come back at the very end and answer any other questions that you have. So if you have any questions, again, put them in the chat roll. I'll be monitoring those here. And you'll also see in the chat roll that we have a link for a download. So this is 7 tips for organizing your sewing space. And of course, if you're going to maybe upgrade a machine you have or get some new products, you'll want to know where to put them in your sewing room. So organization is key. So we're going to get started right away here with our Singer. This is the SE9180. And Singer has been a good name in the sewing machine industry for a long time. It's actually the machine that I learned how to sew on, was my mother's Singer. I know you've used a lot of Singers, and you particularly like this machine. So do you want to talk a little bit about it?
Yes, I've been lucky enough to be using the SE9180 at home for a couple months, so I've been very impressed. And one of the things I really like about the machine is actually the automatic thread cutter. So it's not a feature that I've had in a machine before, so now that I have it, it's like essential to me.
It's one of those, I've used machines before that have automatic thread cutters, and sometimes they're a little slow. This has got to be like the fastest automatic thread cutter I've ever used. But I know you also really like the screen as well, right?
I do, yes. This is the first machine that I've had at home that has that computerized screen, that touch screen. So it's your control panel. I love that it shows the preview of the stitch and how you can get in there and change up the stitch. And of course, using it for embroidery as well has been super fun to play around with and decorate all my projects with a little touch of embroidery. So it's really cool to see all the different things you can do with it.
Absolutely. So speaking of seeing some of the different things that you can do with it, let's go ahead and watch the video that you actually did for us. It's going to go a little bit more in depth with all of the features and attributes of this machine.
The Singer SE9180 is a combination sewing and embroidery machine that gives you all the features you would need for making garments, home deck projects, accessories, and so much more. Plus, you get the ability to embellish those projects or ready-made items with fun embroidery designs. One of the great perks you get with the SE9180 is an owner's class. On the product page on Singer's website, you can find a series of 14 videos that takes you through the basic functions and features of the machine, from threading the machine to winding the bobbin, to programming sequences of stitches and setting up the machine for embroidery, among other things. It's great to watch through those videos even before you sit down at the machine, so you can hit the ground running. And you can reference those videos if you have any questions. But once you sit down at the machine, it's really intuitive to get started, because we have this 7-inch color touchscreen that is our control panel. So we have all the information we need. We have a stitch preview over here, so you can see what the stitch is going to look like before you stitch it out. And one of the things I love about this machine is you have so much control over all of your stitches. So we have our functional stitches here, straight stitches, zigzag, we have overcast stitches, blind hem stitch, and then we have our decorative stitches. So we have so many fun decorative stitches, and I'll show you what I mean by control over these stitches. So for all of your stitches, you can change the width and the length of the stitches, but you can also mirror image left and right and front and back. So you can play around with all of these stitches and create something that is super unique to you. And then of course we have our buttonhole stitches, and we have text stitches as well. So we have 4 different fonts plus a script font, so you can type out names, monograms, messages. And then we have a tab over here for your saved designs, which is really fun. So you can go into the multi-selection feature up here, and we can select one element from all of your stitches. And so you can combine these elements together, and whatever you decide to design, then you can save that stitch, and you can find that over here in your saved design. So if you're stitching something out, like if you're stitching a tag for a quilt or a garment, and you'll be going back to that stitch frequently, you can save it and it's right there ready for you. So I'm selecting a stitch that I had already created, and we'll stitch that out and see what that looks like. So there is my saved stitch. I had combined a satin stitch heart from the decorative stitches with some text to spell out my daughter's name. In addition to all of these great sewing features, the machine is equipped for embroidery. So it's really easy to switch over to embroidery functions. You just slide the machine bed off, and we'll slide our embroidery unit on. So once the unit clicks on, it tells the machine that it's ready for embroidery. So all of the functions on your screen here will switch over to embroidery. And one of the great perks you get with the SE9180 is in the box you'll find a code that gives you a free 90-day trial of the MySewNet Platinum subscription. MySewNet is a digitizing software that has different tiers of subscription, and Platinum is the highest tier. So you can go onto mysewnet.com and check out what features each tier gives you access to. With the Platinum trial subscription, you get access to all of the digitizing and editing features, and you get access to a library of over 8,000 editable embroidery designs. So the MySewNet icon is right up here, and you can, once you get your machine connected to the Wi-Fi and you get signed into your account, you can go to the library and scroll through all these thousands of designs. But we have some built-in designs just right here ready for you right on the machine. And just like with all the sewing features, you get so much control over these embroidery designs just right here on the screen. So you can go to your editing function right up here, and you can scale up and down. You can move the design around. You can add text, so you can combine designs, and we have 10 different fonts built in right here on the machine. And one of the things that I really love about this is you can go to this thread icon and you can see the different thread colors, and you can change them to preview right here on the screen what those thread colors will look like. And you can also change the background color, so you can see what the design will look like on the fabric that you're stitching it on. If you're an embroidery enthusiast, the Singer SE9180 offers you so much inspiration and so much control over how your design will look and how your finished project will look. And it makes it easy with the owner's class, the color touchscreen, and intuitive features. So be inspired, and with the Singer, watch your ideas come to life.
Watching you changing the colors on that embroidery has got to be one of my favorite parts of this machine, just because I think you think sometimes machines have to have these really high-tech, complicated screens, and this is a perfect screen, and you see everything on there. So that's definitely one of my favorite features. I know you like that screen, but I definitely like it as well.
Yeah, it was really fun to play around with changing the embroidery thread colors and changing the background color like you just saw in that video, so you can really see exactly how that's going to look when it gets stitched out.
Yeah, and it's perfect if you're a really, really visual person. Like a lot of times you can design something ahead of time, but you're like, I'm not sure if it's going to match, but you can see it right on there. So if anyone has any questions about this machine, I definitely encourage you to put those in the chat roll. We don't have any questions yet, but we have a lot of people watching, a lot of people saying hello, so this is awesome. We have people from Maine and Florida. California seems to be getting some weather, but they're still watching. They're still saying hello. Renee says she loves the site, products and tips, so thank you so much for watching. Definitely want to still see your comments and interactions, and of course questions if you have them. So we have talked about the Singer machine, and now I think we get to move over to something that's going to help us cut and prepare our fabric before we ever even get to a machine, and that is some OLFA products. So I have more of a quilting background. I know you have more of a sewing background, but rotary cutters, rulers, and mats work for both crafts and other crafts as well. So don't think that you have to be one or the other to use these tools. This is probably one of the first rotary cutters I ever bought, was an OLFA one, and I've stuck with them ever since. And so love the rotary cutters and the rulers and the mats. And as a non-quilter, do you still use these as well?
Absolutely. The rotary cutter is great for cutting out garments and getting into the curves of necklines and arm size. So a good rotary cutter is super important, and rulers as well for any of your straight cuts for purses and accessories, home deck projects. A good ruler is super important.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only with these rulers being good for quilting cotton, but you mentioned all those other fabrics that you're using maybe for those garments. Not all of those are, you know, a very nice surface to cut on, right? They're a little slinky, they're a little slick, and so these rulers are the ones that have sort of the, you know, the frosting on the back. That way they're nice and grippy on the fabric as well. So again, it works for all things quilting and sewing. So we're going to now show you a video where one of our other contributors, Colleen Talkie, goes a little bit more in depth about all of these products and the features that they have.
As quilters, tools are everything. Accuracy, the pieces that we need to make patchwork are so important to us. OLFA has a wonderful set of tools on the market, and as a quilter who's worked in quilt shops over the years, I've always been asked, where should I start when I go to purchase tools? What are reliable tools, accurate things I'm always going to want to have at the ready? And a good mat, a good ruler, and a rotary cutter are essential to success in quilting. So let's look at some of the tools that OLFA has available for us. The cutting mat is always the first place to start. The cover of your surface so that you can cut all of that wonderful patchwork through all the different projects you're going to be working on. And they have a different variety. They have 4 different sizes on the market, but I always suggest buy the largest mat you can afford. And that, for me, has always been the 24 by 36, is the one that you see here. Because that way you always have the ability to cut across a width of fabric that's folded and maneuver for just about any shape that you're going to be creating in the future. So a mat like this, it's a self-healing mat. So as you cut across it, the little nicks and things kind of close up as you work across it. The mats come in green or a dark gray. So the mat that we see here covers that nice width of fabric, and then since you're going to be working on something large like that, the next thing that I would always suggest is a ruler that is 24 inches wide. That helps you get across a width of fabric like this so that you can cut those border strips, those sashing strips, nice and easily across the width of fabric. And whether it's 6 or 6.5 wide, this is really the most common width that you're going to be using in measurement. So the 6 by 24 top-notch ruler that you want to purchase. The other thing about this one is that it comes with a frosted backside. That frosted surface helps you reduce the glare on the ruler as you look down through it. So if you have any issues with bounce back, that frosted side really does help, and it also helps with stability. It helps that it doesn't slide across the fabric as you're trying to cut, because again, accuracy is important, and that non-slip surface really does help out. Now the markings on the ruler do come in a black And for some people, different colors on a ruler can cause issues on how well you see the edge of the fabric. Now, the black markings, some will say, but black markings on black fabric, that's usually the biggest issue of how well you can see. But that frosted surface, as you see here, makes those markings very easily read by you so that you can then cut the strips and squares that you need. So that non-glare does help with the reading on dark fabrics. It works great on the light color fabrics. But what about those in-between values, like maybe reds or blues? Are they easily read? Very easy to read on red or blue, so that those marks are very easy for your eye to pick up, so that your accuracy in cutting then increases. One other thing I needed to point out, I wanted to show you, is that it has a compass across the ruler so that you have different angles. A lot of times a project will have you trimming something or cutting angles to cut diamonds, and quilters will ask, well, do I have to go out and buy another ruler? Do I have to have a diamond ruler or a trimming ruler? Well, you don't actually. You have all of the angles that you need on your ruler. It's just learning how to use them. And a little later I'll show you real quick how to cut diamond shapes off of just a simple rectangular ruler. But if we're going to cut something, that means we need a rotary cutter that is something that we're comfortable using. Now, I can brag that OLFA was the very first rotary cutter that I purchased more years ago than I want to remember. And that was when the handle was a simple bar, but they've increased their comfort and the angle at which we find ourselves maybe having fatigue by creating a curved handle and a grip method. This reduces stress, fatigue on your wrist and your hand, and it makes it much more comfortable to cut pieces. Maybe you're cutting out an entire project at once, so this is a great rotary cutter for you. Now, the different features on this, the curved handle has kind of a rubberized grip on each side, so it reduces a slip out of your hand. That curve does fit into the palm of the hand with much more comfort than the old straight bar type handle. And the grooves along the top here make sure that you don't slip with your fingers, so that when you put your hand down for pressure to cut across fabric, it keeps your finger from slipping. The last thing is that it has a lock system so that you don't forget and lay down the rotary cutter and or put it into the drawer and not close it so that the blade stays retracted. So by using this red button, just a simple little pop, it's not hard or stressful on the fingers, that releases the blade when you grab a hold of the grip system, and then the blade is exposed for cutting. I usually always try to remember to click to close when you lay it down. A rotary cutter that's open, it can be exposed, can be dropped, means that injuries can happen. So that simple little click of a button makes sure that you stay safe at all times. The other thing that's nice about this is that over the years I've had people come and say, I'm left-handed, I need a rotary cutter that works for me. And after a while I realized that there were a lot of them on the market that were designed for right-handers. And lefties want to be creative too. So OLFA thought about that and created the system where you can basically flip the blade to this side. It's shaped the same on both sides, so that easily the blade system can be flipped over and added to this side, so that lefties have the same exact tool as right-handed quilters. So we've got the blade ready to go. I'm going to lay that over here locked just for a second so that we can do a bit of cutting, because we're always squaring up pieces and squaring up our fabric before we cut. So by laying out our fabric, the first few cuts on a brand new blade are always the most amazing things. Do know that the OLFA cutter can also accept the pinking blade. These are specialty blades, a pinking blade, a wavy, and a scallop blade. They do fit into this mechanism. Just realize that the blade is a little bit more exposed when off of the surface of the cutter when using those blades, but they can be used in this system. So once I have my ruler in place, a simple cut across, and I have cut a nice simple strip without any stress on my hands or wrist. So that is cutting just a simple strip off of it, but I said that we could also cut things that are at angles. So let's have a little quick demo. I'm going to cut, I've made a strip set here, and I want to cut some diamond shapes in order to create a star design. My angle is going to be the 60-degree angle right here, and I want to place that along the lower portion of my strip set. And because of the math within this, maybe your pattern will call for different sizes, but because my strips were cut at 2.5, that means that the units that I want to cut off of the strip also need to be 2.5. So what I do then, with my 60-degree line at the bottom of the strip set, I look for 1, 2, and I just need 2.5 inches so I don't waste any of my strip set. So I'm looking here, 1, 2. My half line is this broken one here. So I can simply cut along the edge of my strip set. I'm going to lift the ruler, but I'm just going to flip my piece around. And I'm going to line up that 60-degree along the bottom, my 2.5-inch line along the piece that I just cut. And then I can go back and cut the second side of my diamond. And then I can just continue down my strip set, 60-degree line, 1, 2.5, cutting the remainder of my pieces. So I don't need a diamond ruler or a triangle. I just need to learn to use those markings that are provided on my ruler. There we go.
I love that she chose cutting angles at the end, because I'm pretty sure it was probably a few years after I even started using rulers that I realized that they have those angle lines on there. And you can do that, yeah. So we're starting to see more comments and some questions coming in here. Definitely love to still see that people are saying hello. Please keep doing that. We have a couple here that aren't necessarily questions, but someone said that they love the safety on the OLFA cutter, and Donna says that as she is staring at the scar on her index finger from another brand of cutter. So definitely the safety features are great on this. I definitely like this one just because it always just springs back automatically, because I know that there are other ones where you have to actually engage it, and I kind of always forget to do that. And we both have young kids that are probably in and around our sewing room a lot, so having one that just automatically goes back and then that extra feature of being able to lock it, I think is perfect. Definitely love that. Yeah. We have other questions and comments here about the ruler. So Arcita says that she is so glad for this product review, and as a new quilter and amateur crafter, it's helpful to know where to begin. And I definitely second that as well. So especially if you walk into a craft store and you have so many different options, all sizes, shapes, colors, brands, everything. It's great to know what other people are using, and especially when it comes to OLFA, it's something that, you know, if you like their rotary cutter, try out their mats and rulers too. Or same thing if you like just one of these 3 things, it's great to be able to put them all together as a system, because you know they all work good together.
For sure, and it can be super overwhelming, all of those different tools. And it can really sort of make or break your project and your experience in the sewing room to have good tools.
Absolutely. And there's one other little feature I want to show about this mat, which I think is super cool. So this is one where obviously as a quilter, this is probably the side of the mat that I'm going to use, 90% of the time, because I'm cutting those strips. I'm cutting the things that Colleen just showed. But as someone who maybe is cutting out, I don't know, the bodice of a dress or something like that, you have sort of the general use side of the mat. So if you don't need all of those lines, you don't need those grid lines, or maybe you're somebody who never cuts using those grid lines, you use the lines on your ruler instead, you can have just free reign to put your pieces in whatever direction you want and use this side. So I think this is a great feature too.
Yeah, it can be a little less distracting to cut on this side.
Yep, and especially if you're just getting used to new rulers, new sizes of rulers, you can really focus on how you hold that ruler and how you use it on this side here. So love that feature as well. So let's do one more check here for any questions. Still a lot of hellos coming in, so thank you so much everyone for watching. No more questions about the ruler, so we're going to move on to our next machine. So both Nikki and I started sewing when we were very young. We're talking like single-digit age young, and have been doing it for a while, and now we both have young kids who are getting into sewing and teaching. And this is a great entry-level machine. Now, I don't mean that you have to be 6 years old to use it. Right. It is great for any age level, any skill level, but it's a really great beginner machine. So do you want to talk a little about it?
Yes, it definitely is. It's a very robust machine, so it can do everything that you need it to do. Mm-hmm. But I love how the dials have the little preview of the stitch on them for you to select all of your stitches. Everything is just right there on the machine, so you can see all of the stitches that you can choose from. And like I said, it can sew through tons of layers of thick fabric. I was so impressed with that. But it's also it's lightweight, and it can travel with you if you need it to. But yeah, it does everything you need it to do.
That's perfect. I love that the lightweight feature, especially if you're someone who, bringing it to a retreat, maybe you're going to a quilt retreat, a sewing camp, something like that, and maybe you have a machine you always keep in your sewing room. It's always great to have one that you can take with you as well.
For sure.
So let's watch a video where Nikki gives us a little more in-depth into all the features of this machine as well.
The Bernina B05 Academy is a robust, durable, and powerful machine equipped with a wide range of functions. This heavy-duty mechanical machine is capable of sewing through 12 layers of denim, which is especially helpful when you're hemming a pair of jeans, because at the lower edge, we're going to double fold up, and at this flat felled seam, we have all of these seam allowances. So once you double fold that up, we have 12 layers of denim right here at the seam. So we're going to slide this under the presser foot. And it goes over those seam allowances so easily, so you can hem your jeans, no problem. In addition to being powerful, the machine is fast, capable of sewing 1,100 stitches per minute, and it's equipped with 30 built-in stitches, from functional stitches like zigzag stitches, buttonhole stitch, blind hem stitch, and stretch stitches for sewing on knits. In addition to decorative stitches, so you can add a little extra decoration to your projects. In your machine manual, you'll find some stitch charts. So we have some quilting stitches, your practical stitches, and your decorative stitches, which is helpful to see a preview of the stitch pattern and your stitch category. And this tells you exactly what dials to select to achieve these stitches. So on our dials, each letter has several stitch patterns available. So if I wanted to select my blanket stitch, I would go to D, and the blanket stitch here is in gray. So up here, I know to select S2. So I'm using my blanket stitch to stitch down this applique. And I've already fused the applique down with fusible web, but the blanket stitch helps secure that down, and it also adds a little decorative touch. So I have my straight stitch portion of the stitch going along the edge of the applique, and then we take a little bite into the applique fabric. And then when that is all finished, it looks nice and secured. The Bernina B05 Academy comes with standard accessories such as 12 presser feet, some of which I've already touched on. We have the buttonhole foot, the blind hem foot, we have a zipper foot, and many others. We also have an extension table, which has feet that pop up, and it's really easy to attach. Slide the machine bed off, and we'll slide our extension table on until it clicks. And this is really great when you have a large project or heavy fabric, and it helps bring that fabric up to the presser foot so that it slides easily under the needle so the fabric isn't tugging down. And then to take it off, we just slide it back out. And you can slide your machine bed back on. The BO5 Academy travels well. It's lightweight, but it has all the features you would need for it to be your primary machine as well, whether you're a casual crafter or a serious sewer. Whatever your experience level, this machine fits all your needs.
So many fun features on this machine, and I love that we're getting some questions in about it. So we have a couple that have come in. And so Donna wants to know, what is the housing on the Bernette, if it is plastic or metal? So we both just confirmed, we looked in there, and the bobbin housing is plastic in there. So about the only metal pieces that you can see on it are right there on that throat bed. And that's probably what helps contribute to the light weight of that machine, which I think is a great feature.
Yeah.
So Cheryl is asking what kind of bobbin the Bernette uses and how hard of bobbins they are to find. So we're going to have you consult the machine manual for that, or the information on the product website. So again, on the page that you're watching, we have links to exactly where these products are, and you can go check that out. I do have one of the bobbins here, and I will say that in terms of how hard they are to find, usually any size of bobbin, I know we have both used multiple brands of machines over the years that require different bobbins, and you can pretty much always find those online or directly through the machine manufacturer site, or maybe if you have a local dealer or something in your area. It does come with a handful of bobbins already for you. So I usually run anywhere between 4 to 6 bobbins at a time, especially if I'm doing a quilting project, because I don't like to stop and rewind more bobbins. So it does come with a handful, so you can get going right away if you can't find some more additional ones. Elaine says that she loves her Bernina. She has a record electronic from 1980. I don't even know what that one looks like. I'm going to have to look that up. So that is awesome. So again, keep those questions and comments coming in. We love that you guys are loving these products so far. And we're going to move on to another one that is a lot of fun here. So we have a tool here that does a little bit of work, makes some work a little bit easier for you, right? So putting in grommets and eyelets. It is something that we have talked about over the years, where we have some unconventional things in our sewing rooms because we need them, right? So we've had rolling pins if you're talking about, leather and you have to roll a seam, and we've also had hammers in our sewing room because that's what you used to have to always use to get eyelets in. You were always hammering them. You don't have to with this tool, right?
I love it.
Yeah.
Having to hammer in those grommets, a lot of times I have to take my project with the grommets and the hammer and go outside and do it on the concrete. And it'd be great to just have it just a one-stop shop right there, right in your sewing room. Make it easy.
Absolutely. So this is the Prym Vario Creative Tool, and we have a video here where one of our contributors, Emily Steffen, is going to do a sort of a deep dive into this and show you all of the great features of this product.
Hey everyone, my name is Emily and I have a really cool creative tool that I want to share with you today. It is from the company Prym and it's called the Vario Creative Tool. It looks like this, and it is, with this one little machine, can attach rivets, punch holes, attach fasteners, and do eyelets, which normally is a lot of different tools, but this is all those tools in one. The precision of this tool is absolutely awesome. It's easy to do 2 different sets of eyelets and multiple different sizes of rivets based on the size of the insert that you use in the tool, which I'm about to show you. The one thing that is awesome, that is different than any other tool, is that you're able to adjust for the thickness of your material with the simple turn of the screw. So don't worry if you're using something really thick like multiple layers of denim or leather or felt or something as simple as just knit or cotton. This tool will do all the different sizes of material very easy for you. Let me show you how easy this is to add some eyelets onto a pennant that I made for my daughter for her room the other night. This is just a simple felt pennant, and I want to add a couple different eyelets to the edges here so that she's easily able to hang it up in her bedroom. This particular pattern that I used is just using multiple layers of felt. So normally this would take quite a bit of effort to go through these layers of felt, but I want to show you just how easy this is with how awesome this handle is and the multiple different grip styles that I can use to get through this felt. So with your Prym set, you will get 11 millimeters or 14 millimeter option. One of them is just larger than the other. I'm gonna go with the 14 millimeter today because I want nice big eyelets. And you'll have 4 different little attachments here. I will remove all 4 from the box. The Prym Vario Creative Tool comes with this handy dandy measuring little slider that goes right here on the bottom. And the cool thing about this is you're able to easily measure using the notches on the side that move around where you want the holes of your eyelets to go. So to punch your eyelets, you will first need to punch a hole through your fabric. The cool thing about this set is that you are given these little purple kind of basket looking pieces that make this tool so easy to swap out all the pieces of the punching. I'm going to use these 2 black pieces first, and this piece goes right on top of the little outlet piece, and look at it, makes it so easy to put these pieces on here. You can even hear the snap. So now I will punch my hole first. I can choose to use both hands to push. I can choose to squeeze the lever, or if I really want to get into it, I can stand up. Your hole is punched through and ready for the eyelet pieces. So now that this first hole is punched, we're going to punch the other hole. Now I will take out the pieces and remove this bottom piece. So now I will simply add my 14 millimeter green bottom piece and my 14 millimeter top piece, and then find my 14 millimeter eyelets. Eyelets come with 2 different pieces, the bottom piece and the top piece, and essentially this tool is going to smush them together. The bottom piece will have a bigger lip, so that will go onto your actual fabric. And you just fit it right through that pre-cut hole that we used from our tool before. You'll see that it lines up quite easily because this green piece has like a little indent or a little hole kind of area that it sits right in there. And then you'll layer your top piece right on top, and it'll sit right inside of one another. I have 4 pieces of fabric, so it's a little bit thicker, but this is where I'm able to use my adjustment tool because I have 4 pieces of felt, and I'm just gonna bring this up a little bit. Give it a squeeze. And there's 1 eyelet done. I'm going to repeat that process with the other side. So I have my 2 eyelets completed on our pennant, so Esther can easily put this up in her bedroom. Now, I mentioned at the very beginning that this isn't just for adding eyelets and not just for punching holes, but it's also for adding rivets, which is a great detail for any belts or any even bags or kind of all those accessories. You could even make some leather earrings with these rivets on them. I want to show you just how easy it is for rivets as well. The rivets come with 2 options, 7 millimeter and 9 millimeter options, and those are just kind of the widths of the heads of the rivets. So depending on what you're finishing or what you're using, that is really easy to do. Now with the rivets, I'm going to actually move to using the Vario tool with the table clamp attachment that you saw before, that it actually did not move around a lot when I was doing the eyelets, but I want to show you how awesome it is to add on the table clamp to the little hole in the back. You slide that in, and then I'm able to secure the Vario tool to the table to give it tons more stability. So I'm able to use the handle in the same ways I used it before, but it's just giving me more stability when I'm doing those rivets kind of over and over again. Adding the rivets is the exact same process of how we added our eyelets onto the pennant. First, you'll pierce the fabric to add the holes, in as many holes as we want to add the rivets. And then we will add our rivets on top by using our either 7.5mm or 9mm rivet tool. We will be using the 3mm piercing set that this comes with. And so there is a top and a bottom, one that has like a little triangle and one that does not have the triangle. And we will simply add those onto our tool super easily by just clicking them into place. And I will begin to punch through the leather. This is a little different because it's kind of just piercing the leather rather than taking out a ton of fabric like we did with our eyelet. I'm gonna add one more. So now that the holes are completed, I will simply remove my pieces, and then I'm also going to remove this purple bottom piece off of the Vario Creative tool. I'll simply grab my 9mm rivet tools and easily snap them into place, and then find my 9mm rivets. The rivets are similar to the eyelets, where they come with two pieces, a piece that has the longer position, or that looks like the letter T, and then the smaller piece that fits right on top. I will begin by adding my keychain on here. And again, think about how you can finish off your garments or all of these details with this really cool tool. It doesn't have to be something as simple as a keychain. I will put my letter T part of my rivet in, and then my top on. And your top should click into place, and you will put the top part on the top of towards the top of your rivet tool. I'm going to adjust my thickness here. Ta-da! There's one rivet easily added, and I'm simply going to repeat that process. So think about how this can work in making your garments or your craft projects, and I want to show you just how easy this is to add to another substrate, wool, which can be really tricky to work with, but I want to show you how cool and easy it is. I work with felt quite often, and I find that it's actually kind of tricky to punch littler holes like when we're using these rivets through felt, but I want to show you how innovative this tool is to make this whole process so easy, if you're not convinced by now, because I'm quite convinced and I want to show you. So I have a couple layers of wool felt here, and I'm going to go right back over to my tool, add in that purple bottom part, grab my punching pieces, snap those into place. This is quite awesome because piercing these little holes through felt are really tricky. So you have that hole. I'm going to add one more to the other side, equal distance, using that measuring tool. Okay, so I have my two little small awesome holes from the hole punch, and now I will remove these tools along with the bottom piece, just like before. Now that that bottom piece is removed, I will grab my smaller tools here, my smaller rivet tools, snap those easily into place. Grab some 7.5mm rivets, whoop, as they're coming out of the box. And then, just like before, add the smaller piece, or the T piece, I'm sorry, the bigger piece, the T piece through the back. And then add the rivet on the top, or the hat. Bring it to your tool. And then give it a nice squish. So our first rivet is done through the felt, which was so easy because that punch, which is hard to get little precise things, especially in wool felt, made it so simple. I'm gonna do my second one really quickly here. And voila. I love how easy it was to get these small details in something so fibrous like this wool felt. And I also love that I hope that we've inspired you to add rivets, eyelets, learn how to punch holes, and use this incredible Vario tool with all of your making and creating and all of your finishing, from your garments to your craft projects.
I love that she shows a very easy project with that little keychain with both grommets, and I can see the other one there that had eyelets in it, because we were just saying, if you've ever been intimidated to maybe try inserting one of these into a project, this will kind of take all of that out of that.
It makes it easy, and adding hardware to a project is one way to sort of upgrade your project,
Absolutely.
make it look a little more professional. And I love that this tool is a 2-in-1 with the rivets and the grommets, so you don't have to have two separate tools and then try to find space for it in your
Yes.
sewing room. So
Yep.
this tool is great for that.
Absolutely. And another thing that I was sort of just mentioning to you is I tend to be the type of person where I get a new tool and I want to open it and I have all those parts and pieces and I use it, and then they end up in like a Ziploc bag and they get lost and I never find them again. So like the packaging on these are super cool because I love that you can just pop them out and they go right back in. So there's never any reason to not know, okay, which one is the 11mm, which one's a 14. You don't have to go back and measure anything. Put them right back in their boxes and you'll always have the exact pieces you need. So love that little feature as well. Well, so now we're going to wrap this up with questions on any and all products that we've talked about up to this point. So it doesn't really matter which one you want to ask a question about. We can answer questions about all of them. So we have a couple questions here. Jen was wanting to know what the throat size is on the Singer, and so we actually even measured it for you, and it is right about 6.5 inches. So it is one where you will be able to do some quilting with this one if you want. You would be hard pressed to do like an extra large king or a California king, but you can definitely still manage some quilting on this one. And then to follow up that question with another question, Kim was wanting to know what the opening on the Bernina is, and so I'm going to let Nikki put the ruler in that way. They're both about the same, so a little bit under 6.5. So you have, from where your needle is to the other edge of the machine, about 6.25, 6 inches there. So both of them still able to do some quilting, just maybe on the smaller size of those quilts. And then we have a really nice comment here I want to read from Renee. She says, "This is why I love your site, because you guys give us all the information we need on the products and how to use them, so you don't have to spend a lot of time trying to decide from all the many types." So we absolutely love comments like that. I'm so glad that you said that, and I'm glad that you were watching and enjoying it. So
Absolutely.
Rebecca wants to know if the Bernina sewing machine stitches leather.
Well, we saw it stitch through 12 layers of denim like a pro, so
yeah.
I think leather would be no problem. And there are some other tools that you can use to help with that, like a leather needle, which is designed for sewing on leather. And the BO5 Academy comes with a bunch of accessories too that can help, like presser feet. It comes with that non-stick presser foot, so you can sew easily on fabrics that might be sort of sticky. And it has a leveler too that it comes with to bring up the presser foot level to any sort of bulky seam allowances that you might be stitching over to make that nice and smooth.
Absolutely. And I will say that when it comes to leather, there's obviously different thicknesses, different classes of leather. And so you always, with anything new that you're stitching, I don't care if it's vinyl, if it's silk, it's satin, always do a test swatch first. And you're gonna know as soon as you put that first little piece of whatever that material is through your machine, whether it's gonna work or not. And we've talked about, there's things that you're going to be able to hear, right? If your machine is making that, I know there's a professional term for it, but if it's making that noise, you know that it's either maybe too thick for your machine or you need to change your needle. So there's a lot of things that go into making sure that your machine can stitch that.
For sure.
Absolutely. We have a comment here that is, let me find it real quick, from Anna. She says the OLFA rotary blades are also very easy to change. And I want to say that yes, OLFA blades are definitely very, very easy to change. And this is something that I think can be a little bit intimidating for people because you're thinking, oh my gosh, I have to handle a rotary blade, even though you're changing it because it is, you know, a little bit dull. But so with this rotary blade here, to change it, you're just really going to undo the back here, unscrew it. And this is, in the video Colleen mentioned, you know, you can swap this from a right-handed to a left-handed. So if you were taking the blade off one side to put it on the other, you do the exact same thing. There's this little piece here that you always want to keep when you're taking it off and putting it back on. I always pretend it's a little cowboy hat brim, right? So it has the little lip like this. You always have the lip up, and then you just take off the little plastic spacer, or I'll just let it drop down, and then there's your blade. So if you're going to change it, always grab your blade like this. Never grab the edges, and then you change it. You just, you know, grab your new one, and then to put it back on, just kind of stack everything back up. Or if you're changing it to the left-handed, swap it to the other side. Put the little cowboy hat brim back on.
And then way to remember it.
It's the only way I can remember it. And then it will fit on there, and then you can screw this back on. And it's just super easy to change a blade. So definitely that's one thing they always say, you know, a dull rotary blade is more dangerous than a sharp rotary blade, because then you're really, really trying to make those cuts. Absolutely. Yeah. So don't be afraid to change your rotary blade whenever you need to. It's always a great thing to be able to do. All right. Scroll through here and see if we have any other questions. We have Minna. Says Minna, hi from Texas. Another Texas person out there. I love it. She wanted to say thank you for this video. Please do more. So we absolutely love hearing comments like that as well. We'll talk a little bit more here for a little bit, just so we can give anyone who has those questions who hasn't put them in. This is your chance to put those questions in so we can get them answered. Again, I wanted to remind you, if you weren't here at the very, very beginning, we do have a download for you. So it is in the chat, the very, very top. You can click. It is our 7 tips for organizing your sewing space. So whether you're adding a new machine, maybe it's a new sewing machine, maybe it's a new embroidery machine, maybe you're adding in some more, you know, cutting mats, some accessory tools, anything. This is a great PDF to have. Organization is always a great thing, right?
Super important, and I could always use some more organization tips, I feel like.
I like to read a lot of the organization tips. I don't know that I always apply them, but I do the best I can. So I don't see any other questions coming in, so I just want to thank everyone so much for watching. I hope you really enjoyed this, and I hope you give some of these products a try, and of course download that PDF as well.